This is my wife's 2013 Ford Escape. About a week ago, the heater quit working in it, and I was wondering why. And the first step was to remove the cabin air filter. And I started pulling the cabin air filter, which was installed the wrong way by the dealership. But and then a bunch of mouse nest material started coming out after it. And so I vacuumed it all out. The little guy didn't chew through the filter, so that's good. So he didn't enter the car. The filter is after the fan, so when they get their nest in there, it stops the fan, or you start hearing the fan. So if you do get a mouse in there and then all of a sudden you're starting to hear noise from your fan and it's not blowing any air, that's probably because there's a mouse nest in there. So vacuumed it all out. And if you can see in there, so the fan is on that side, and it's a direct intake into the fan and then down into here. And then on this side here, right here, is the radiator, and in between there is your in-cabin air filter. So a mouse comes down from the front of the car, starts building his nest against the cabin air filter until you turn the fan on and he gets chopped up, or until he gets out of there and doesn't come back. And so I was wondering, how does he get in here? So how did he get in here? Because you look and it's like, oh, there's a screen on there, he can't crawl in there. But then you go to the side and you pull back the rubber and oh, there's a direct hole right into there. And then there's these little flappers here that let the water out, and he could just crawl into there pretty easily. The 2013 to 2019s, or the early Ford Escapes of that year, like 2013, maybe 2014s, they weren't built to keep the rodents out. So they have these stupid flappers here, and the rubber where a little mouse can just crawl into there. So what I'm gonna do to seal that up, because I don't want a mouse crawling in my wife's car again. This car, like, holy crap, has had its fair share of rodents. My wife went out of town for about a month, and I was supposed to move the car, and I didn't move it enough. And we're in a big city that has rats. And she came back, and I picked her up in the car, or she came back and we went for a drive in the car, and I was like, oh, what smells? It's, you know, smelled like pee and BO real bad, like some kind of weird smell, and it was the rat piss, you know. And what happened is she had some repair work done on the back quarter panel and the door. Something happened, I don't remember now, and they forgot a trim piece out, and a rat crawled in and pushed his way past the inner panel in the back of the car. And then because the panel like bent out for him to get in, and then it flapped back shut, so he couldn't get out. So then he was stuck in the car for a while until he chewed his way back out. And then there's shit and poop, and yeah, poop all over. Shouldn't say shit. There's poop all over and pee all over. And we went to the car wash and started cutting out the carpet and all that. It was just bad. Like, it stunk really bad. Once the air started circulating in there, holy smokes, did it ever stink. So we cut out the carpets, and then it got to the point where, like, oh, this is just too much, you know. So then did an insurance claim, and I said should have just traded the car in, but the wife said no, let them fix it. So they fixed it, changed out the carpets and did a really good cleaning in it, and got it back, and they had sprayed perfume in there to hide the smell till it dissipated, I guess. And then it was good for a while, and till we got another mouse in it. So I was reading online, and that's the issue with these. The intake for the fan, because of these little flappers and just the rubber edges that goes right in underneath there, they're not really rodent proof. So a mouse can get in there pretty easily. So I got a roll of mesh, larger mesh, so the water can still flow out pretty easily. I got this for the RV too, to block the heater exhaust and the exhaust for the fridge, because there's little critters crawling in there too, and it works pretty good. So I'm gonna silicone that over the gaps on both sides. When I looked at this side here, that little flapper was bent in like that, like the little guy had crawled in there and pushed that flap up, and then it just stayed up like that. So that's probably where he was going in. He was just coming in that way. Like those flaps, I mean, maybe that was the intent. That little flap was, you know, there to let the water out, but not let little rodents in. But this one's kind of wore out. Yeah, there, now it's off. And I'm just gonna silicone a screen over that, and that'll just stay open, and that'll allow the water to come out, and a mouse isn't gonna chew through that and get in there. So yeah, I'll silicone those on, and then I'll show you what it looked like. Well, I turned the fan on. I don't know if you can hear that. You know, there's air blowing out of there, but it's still plugged. So I'm gonna have to get in there from this side and see if I can't find the plug. So I thought the little mouse had crawled down there and built his nest right near the cabin air filter, but maybe it's a little higher and what's there got sucked in. So maybe there's a bigger nest behind there somewhere. So I'm gonna try to find that. To get in here, it's got these little clips at the front. You just pry those off. Just lift them from the bottom. Careful with your fingernails. I should probably use a tool for that. It's a little bit hard on the fingers. Well, damn it. I thought if I lifted that up, I could see where the intake to the heating system is. But I can't, and I stuck my hand in there to reach around and I couldn't feel anything. So whatever it is, wherever the intake is that it back there? It's pretty far back there, so I'm gonna have to get to the fan. The fan is right here. You have to remove the plastic cowling. The top piece is already off. I removed those clips, so the top will come off. I just got to remove the wiper blades, so it's that nut there. You take both wiper blades off, and then the top will come off. And then to remove the bottom one, you got these bolts here. One there, one there, one there, one there. You have to remove your brake fluid reservoir. And then you remove the bottom part too, and then you'll see a square opening there, and then your fan will be right there. And I'm guessing, in my case, there's going to be a mouse nest there, and that's what's beating on the fan to make it, you know, make that kind of a noise. Okay, so I got the nuts for the wiper blades removed. I'm using a 15mm. Seems like it's somewhere in between 9/16 and a 15. So just a quick tip to remove your wiper blades if you didn't go pull on it and it doesn't want to come out. You could use the wiper blade to take its own self off. You just you know, push on this part of the wiper blade. And then sometimes it pops off. I didn't do it that well that time. Here, let's see if we can get it to do it properly. Yeah, so that's probably the best way. Just push down on the wiper blade and pull up with the other hand. Like that, without almost cracking the windshield. Okay, and save your nuts. Yeah, save your nuts. And then save your cap and nuts. And then the top of this cowling should come off. What's holding it? Some clips at the back. Just some push clips, so when you go to reinstall it, you just push them back in place, and they might stick a little bit on the way out, but try to pull directly up briskly, but not super forcefully. You don't want to break something. There you go. So they just pop into those squares there. They're just spring loaded. Oh, these ones are plastic. So yeah, just push on and yank off. Okay, and then to remove this lower cowling, I gotta hurry because it's getting dark. Just one on this side. So 1, 2, and 2 on this side. Brake fluid reservoir, that's got to come off. 2 there, and then 1 on this side. 2 on this side. Those look like a 5/16. I was right. 5/16 or 8mm. No. If you're running out of time like I am here tonight, or if you're not running out of time but running out of daylight, I guess in the grand scheme we're all running out of time, but right now I'm currently running out of daylight. So if you're in a hurry, a little impact would definitely speed this job up, even though it's not many screws or bolts. And then brake fluid reservoir, it looks like a T20 Torx. And wherever I put the T20 to remove the cabin air filter as well. Might be a T25, we'll see in a second here. Yeah, T25, but a T20 works because they're loose. Okay. Then we'll get these 2 off and we'll see the giant nest that the tiny little mouse has left there. One tiny little mouse can sure do a lot of damage or create a lot of headache. Not so much field mice, just those stupid deer mice. The mice with the white on their bellies, those ones are troublemakers. But the field mice, the little brown fellas, those guys never cause any trouble. It's just those stupid deer mice. Okay, so moment of truth. Here's the bottom cowling coming off, and that came off pretty easily. Get my light here. Come on, light. Sometimes you gotta bang it. There you go. And there's the intake for the heater. There, light's working. Come on. If you can see my heater there. See on the right hole, the right side of the hole there. I guess that flapper goes from interior to recirculate. But my heater fan there is all plugged up with grass. It's plugged right solid. Well, I guess this is my wife's heater fan. This is her car. Yeah, that fan is plugged right up solid with grass. So all the fins on that heater fan are plugged up with grass. Let's see if I can get the camera closer. I don't know if you can see that, but inside that heater fan, it's all plugged up with grass. So I cleaned out the inside. So from the heater fan down is all cleaned out. I vacuumed it out. But from the heater up to the heater fan is where it's plugged. So that noise in the cab wasn't just the heater fan plugged up, it's the heater fan off balance because it's all plugged up with grass. Okay, so I got the fan all vacuumed out. It's all nice and clean in there. I just went and stuck the end of the vacuum cleaner in there and spun the fan with my hand a couple times, vacuumed it, spun it, and vacuumed it. And I was able to vacuum out all the remnants of the nest. And I was looking at this opening here, and I think there's a way to mouse-proof this car, you know, completely. You see how this opening is here, and it's got the flapper, you know, that goes to recirculate or fresh air, recirculate fresh air. But that flapper doesn't come outside this opening. So it'd be really good to stick some screen right over top of that opening, and then the mouse will never get in there. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna cut a piece of screen for over top of this square opening. I'm gonna bend it in place, and then I'm gonna silicone it in place. So I'll get it so it fits over top of there real nice, and then I'll get some silicone and silicone it in place. Actually, hey, look at that. That vent moved on its own. I guess as the car shuts off. So, actually what I could do, no, it doesn't. So what I could do is I cut that screen a little bit bigger than the opening, and then I could just fit it inside there, because there's that foam gasket all the way around. So there's a foam gasket all the way around, and I could fit it in between the plastic shroud and the foam gasket. So I'll do that. I'll cut a piece of screen a little bit bigger than the opening, and I'll slide it in, slide the one corner in, and then get the other side in, and slide it back that way a little bit, and then dab a silicone in each corner. And the Ford Escape is mouse proof. So it's 6 1/16 wide. But it looks like 5 1/16 high. So if I go 6 1/16, so if I go 6 1/2, so I'll try 6 1/2. Yeah, maybe I'll go 6 1/2 by 5 1/4, and I'll see if I can get that in there. Say 6 3/8 by 5 1/4. Okay, so there's my screen, 6 3/8 by 5 1/4, and I'll put the one corner in first and slide it up the other way. So one corner in, and then top in, and then slide over. That's the plan anyway. Or maybe I just bend it and slide it in, and just bend it and get the edges in. Bend it, get the edges in. Oh, the screen is pokey. Haha. There we go. That was the ticket. Look at that. That's like factory. It's like a factory product. Except maybe I should have went a little bit bigger even. Well, once I glue it, it should be good. So I'll just adjust that screen down a little bit, or up, whichever which way it's got to go. Make a nice tight fit in there so little mouse can't crawl in. There we go. That'll work, and it's not in the way of the flapper. So here's my silicone. I'm not using any automotive silicone. One, because I ran out of it, but if you do have automotive silicone, that works fine too. That'll adhere to metal and painted surfaces, no problem. This you can get at Home Depot, same spot I got the wire mesh there. If you do get the mesh or the roll of wire mesh there, get one with the larger holes, not large enough for a mouse to get through, but the one with the 1/4 inch holes or so. And then because you want enough air to go through there and you don't want it to just plug up right away, so get the larger mesh stuff, like this stuff here. Yeah, 1/4 inch holes. It allows for the air to pass through and not plug up so quick, and the mouse can't get through that or get into that. So yeah, now just a matter of getting the caulking gun in there. I might have to just put it on my finger. Oh, no, I can caulk it. So squeeze some caulking on all 4 corners. And I'll go squeeze some caulking on the top. And I'll go dab it with my finger to make sure it adhered. Remember, a mouse isn't that strong, so you don't have to put a whole heck of a lot on there. Well, I gotta turn the caulking gun before it starts coming out. And don't make a mess, because even though this car is a 2013, they're still nice cars. As long as you change the transmission oil, they last a long time, pretty long time. And put a catch can in them, and do regular oil changes at and there I mucked it up, at 5,000 kilometer intervals, or if you're in the States, 5,000 miles, which is like 10,000 kilometers. It's like double what I think a good oil change is here. Yeah, it's a funny thing. So the Ford factory says every 7,000 kilometers change your oil here, and in the States they say every 7,000 miles. So that's kind of odd. Like, you know, that's a big difference in mileage. And yeah, don't get a whole lot of caulking on there and plug off the grating like I was doing because I wasn't paying attention. So yeah, I think I got it pretty good. I didn't plug off that grating at the top too much, so I put another dab there. I'm trying to secure it. I don't want it to I don't want a little mouse to crawl on there and be able to push the grate down and squeeze through there. So in my attempts to secure it, I'm making a mess with my finger. There we go. Wire mesh installed. No mouse is gonna get through that. I made a little bit of a mess with the silicone. I put maybe a little bit too much on the top, but you can always scratch that off if you ever have to get in there and pull that grate out. So it's not permanent stuff. It's just it hardens, but it you know, you can scrape it off after. So it's no big deal if you put too much. Just don't plug the screen off fully. So that'll work. Okay, so it's officially dark outside and the bugs are starting to come out. So I'm going to put the cowling back on. I'm going to still put those little screens on the end, just because those are too appetizing, or those are too appealing for a little mouse to crawl in the edges there. But even if he does get behind that cowling, he's not going to get through that grate into the car. So yeah, that's fixed. This weak point for mice getting into the car is now sealed up tight. There's no mouse getting into that. So And I got a brand new cabin air filter. I'm going to shove that in there. And yeah, cool. That's not the right way. That's not the right way either. This must be the right way. I did have it the right way. Yeah, the screws are on the outside. So that thing slides underneath there just like that. Watching our sensor for when the hood is open. There we go. Just like that. It looked odd for a second, but that's the way it goes back in. I think those back ones tend to get a little bit of rust on them. That's why they're tight. Doing this with one hand. Brake fluid reservoir. There's two. Here's my T20. It really should be a T25 to take these off and put them back on, but a T20 works. It's a good time to tap out and vacuum out those screens. Like, holy, that's caked up with a lot of crap. Yeah, a lot of stuff in there, but I'm in a hurry and I can vacuum that out from the top, so don't forget about those snap-in fasteners at the back here. There's one. Once you get one of them started, then you can just work your way over from there. Make sure they're going in the hole before you hammer down on it with your big paw. Like these ones here aren't quite aligning. So just gonna pull it over a little bit, I think. Or push it down. One of the two. We've got one here that's being a troublesome one. There we go. And is this one lined up? That one just needs to go down a bit too. There we go. There we go. See, I looked before I slammed down my big paw. And there, that cowling's on. Can reinstall all the clips that I took off. There we go, clips are back on. Just wiper blades now. And when you install your wiper blades, it's probably a good idea to give them a check to make sure you got them in the same spot before you, well, you know, take your chances. You gotta tighten them up so they stay in the same spot. Anyway, I got the wrong one on here. Is that what's going on? Doesn't it? Oh no, it's turning with it. Okay. I'm used to those locking up. Okay. Here's the other one. I don't know which one goes which. I think this one goes on the bottom, but who knows? So before I say that I installed those correctly, I'll start the car and make sure they're working properly as they should. Yeah, I guess I installed them correctly. And listen to that heater purr. No vibration whatsoever. Yeah, that works, but I don't want to run it too long because I don't have that cabin filter in. Okay, wipers are installed. I don't know what torque spec to tighten these to, so I just tighten it to where I think is good, which is say 30 foot-pounds maybe. So wipers are back on. I kept my nuts and I also kept the cap here. So I got the cap for that side. The cap for the passenger side is missing. I don't know where that went. Hailed the bug. So now I'll just cut a couple little pieces of screen for the side here. I'll fold the top over so it can sit on underneath there. And then I'll dab a little bit of silicone in the corners just to keep it in place. And then hopefully no more mice crawling in there. Even though he can't get into the car, I don't want him to crawl underneath there anymore. And those little rubber flappers on the side are just a little bit too enticing, I think, for a mouse. So there's my little screen for that hole. I just bent over the top of it. You got to kind of bend the top at an angle because the top of that hole goes up at an angle. So I'll just pick that up. This edge will sit on top of there. And then I'll just put a dab of silicone in each corner and that'll hold that in place. There we go, just like that. And that's better than those little rubber flappers that are there. Especially if it gets stuck one way and a mouse sticks his nose in there and said, hey, this is cool in here, and then crawls in there and then goes in where your cabin filter is and makes a nest in there. Or goes where the heater fan is there and makes a nest in there. I think what happens is he goes into that heating fan and then makes his nest like, you know, on the underside of that heating fan till somebody turns the fan on, and then he gets spun up in there. And then that's why people are finding dead mice in their you know, behind their cabin filter and stuff. So here's the passenger side screen installed. You know, it's wide open here under this flap of rubber. You know, so that's not really doing anything. I suppose you could push that in there like that. And then there's a little hole here. So I just put the screen over the obvious hole. You know, and then the mouse isn't going to crawl in here and go, hey, what's in there? You know, he can still crawl in there. I suppose I could get a can of foam or, I don't know, sit a screen on top of there, but, you know, it's kind of wasting time because there's all kinds of gaps in this thing all over the place. So I'm just putting it in the obvious spot. And then here's the driver's side. And I put a little bit too much caulking, but the silicone is non-permanent, so it can always be scraped off later on. Better too much silicone than too much mice. Okay, so here's the new cabin filter. If you note on the cabin filter, I'll show you an arrow. It says airflow with arrow. So air is going that way. Your foam gasket on there will be to the front of the car. So it'll go in there like that, with the foam gasket on the front. So I vacuumed it out really well. Nothing left to do but to shove it in there. And I'll probably need 2 hands to do it. Holy man. Really gotta stuff these ones in here. So after you get your filter in past the initial crunching it up and jamming it in there, hopefully without tearing it, it goes in pretty easily. It's just getting it past this fuse panel that's the trouble. Okay, so cabin filter's back in there. And we reinstall our cover with the screw hole on the bottom. Okay, I see there's some kind of stick up there, some kind of little post that this thing slides into. There we go. You see there's a post up there, so you get the top of that in and you slide it up so it hooks in on the tab. So make sure the top's in, and then push it up so that post is in the groove or in that notch, and then the top should be sliding in. Okay, and then push your bottom in so the clips are snapped into place, and put your T20 screw back in. There, and the in-cabin filter is, oh, forgot about this thing. Oh, I shove this thing back up in there. So I didn't film taking this off because I didn't figure it was that important. But to take that off, you just do how I'm putting it on in reverse. Well, it's got these little tabs here, or these little fasteners. You just squeeze them and pull them off, and then you just shove them back on to fasten that little shroud back on. There we go. Security mesh is installed. 2013 Ford Escape, or early 2013 to 2019 model of Ford Escape, has now been mouse proofed, at least with the HVAC or heating and cooling system. Listen to that heater purr. No vibration, nice cool air coming in. Is good once again. And that's a repair anybody can do if you have the time to do it. If not, take it to the garage and they'll do it in an hour and charge you $400.